Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson. This is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi guys.
Yes, so
we've been away. We've just got back from a holiday.
Yes, we have, and we're glad to be back. So tonight,
we missed you so much.
So tonight we are reviewing an interesting, I think more of an independent film.
Well,
It's
a coming of age film.
Yeah, it is.
But not your ordinary one. Like, the kiddies are going for a camping trip. No, it's more something closer to our hearts.
Yeah, it's called 5/25/77, and it's sort of a coming of age, like Mike says here, about a real life filmmaker's life living in a small town in America. And so it says. And, of course, it's directed by a guy named Patrick Reed Johnson. And he's sort of the main character. He plays a young...
He wrote it too.
He wrote it too. It's about his life story.
Yes.
And how Star Wars affected his life of choosing to become a filmmaker. Or not really just Star Wars. Like an extension of movies in different... that deal with sci-fi and stuff like that kind of give him the impression that he wants to follow in those great filmmakers' footsteps. He
wants to be another George Lucas or Steven Spielberg.
So,
who wouldn't?
Yes. So anyway, I'm glad to actually say this is another sort of, not really like The Fabelmans, obviously, but this is sort of up there where an independent filmmaker is trying to make it big in the industry.
Newbie.
Anyway.
It's very hard for newbies, guys.
Well, it is. I mean, considering the fact that he's doing fan films like most of us do for the fun of it.
Well, when he was a kid, he did his own. He made his own sequel to Planet of the Apes, Jaws, and a movie called Space 1999.
Yeah, it's difficult when you do it by doing it as copying someone else's work or trying to emulate their work. It's hard to compete sometimes.
Actually, remember the guys at Chris and Eric who did the Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Uh-huh.
That was a really good fan film for kids. They really did really good. They used something like a or a video camera or something or other, and they did it really, really good.
Yeah, I understand that this movie gave us a few... Well, I was trying to find it when it was released, guys, because for a long time I was given 4 dates of when it was released, and for a long time it was hard to figure out when to pinpoint when it's going to be released.
This one?
Yeah, yes, well, it just came out last 2 years ago.
Well, it's a long story.
Yes, it is.
Where is it? I had some dates here. The release, here it is. The film's official release premiere was in May 2017 at the Johnny Theatre in Waukegan, Illinois. A short theatrical run followed. That was 2017. On December 25th, 2020, its director announced on his Facebook and Twitter pages that it would be available to stream, buy and see in select theatres on May the 25th, 2021. But the release was postponed. On May the 25th, 2022, MVD Entertainment announced that they had acquired the film's worldwide rights and that it would be released in the fall of 2022.
Now you see what I mean, guys.
And I think it finally came out somewhere in September 2022. There you go.
Yeah, you see what I mean, guys. I heard it being mentioned several times in the past, and I couldn't seem to find a direct copy.
So it's finally around, and we can get it and do it and watch it and stuff. And we're obviously seeing it. And you can see it if you like it after we talk to you about it.
It was an interesting story, and we get to see some behind-the-scenes footage from the making of Star Wars to the Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and a lot of mentions of other famous filmmakers' stuff, as you go along, including the famous one that inspired so many filmmakers who were into sci-fi, which is called 2001: Space Odyssey.
Oops, excuse me.
Yes, and it became sort of the mainly filmmakers, including George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, and a lot of others, got their interest flowing by watching that particular movie, and it got them to start looking into making their own sci-fi movies. And of course, back at those days, most of the time sci-fi was unnoticed when you think about it.
Back in the early days, 40s, 50s, they did a lot of cheap sci-fis. And then it's like the horror movies that Universal put out. They went there and did their run for so many years and then said, well, we've done that, let's do something else. And then they said, oh, we're going to do a sci-fi. And people go and say, yeah, that's been done. And well, yeah, but it hasn't been done well. It's like it's a quantum leap into the next generation of sci-fis. Sort of like taking the old crappy westerns and then doing something like a brand new western like Tombstone and all those sort of things they've made in the past couple of decades.
Interesting
everything
thing.
Changes.
The date that we mentioned is actually the date of when Star Wars was officially released on, obviously.
Well, the 25th of 25th of what was it?
May.
Yeah, 25th of May 1977 was the day. I believe Star Wars actually hit the theatres, at least in where he was.
Yeah, according to a lot of Star Wars, they came out in May, obviously. And I think it's become an annual tradition over here where whenever people refer back to May, they refer back to the original Star Wars movies. And it has... this month, it was going to be doing a special screening over in Australia where they're going to do it with all the original trilogy, obviously. Of course, I was not here because I was at the time away because I was in New South Wales, so I missed out on actually seeing the original again.
Do we get on actually talk about this one instead of talking about things around it?
Sure.
Okay, directed and written by Patrick Reed Johnson, produced by Lee Jones, Fred Roos, WOS, William Holmes, Gary Kurtz, Peter Bowers. Now, I won't go through everybody, but the main person in it is a guy called John Francis Daly. Daly or Daly, D-A-L-E-Y, plays Pat, who is obviously the main guy who is an aspiring filmmaker, like all of us.
Yeah, and a nerd. Or geek, or whatever.
Yeah, and a few other people in there. I won't go through who they are, but he's the main actor, and he is trying, as a teenager, to make his own films using domestic sort of gear, and hoping to get a break into Hollywood one day when he gets a bit older, gets out of college.
Well, high school.
Okay, high school, whatever.
Because there was a conversation he had with his mum, his character did, where they were trying to figure out, do you need to go to special colleges in order to learn filmmaking?
Mother believed in him. Isn't that lovely, kids?
Yeah, because according to him, the only sort of schools you can go for filmmaking school would be in New York and probably Los Angeles. And they would probably cost a great deal of money back then, obviously. Unlike now.
Yeah.
I imagine now it's probably more money when I think about it.
Anyway, are you going to tell the story?
Might as well.
Before the people get home?
So the story takes place where he was in the theatre with his parents, and they're watching 2001 Space Odyssey. And it's the interesting ending that everyone continues to try to work out what it's all about.
Baby.
Of course, no one seems to work it out because either it's too symbolic or too not really.
That sort of crap. Yeah.
And I also plan on going to actually check it out later on.
Well, we do have a copy of it here, so we can watch it one night. Yeah.
Well, I want to go into the actual theatre. There's a theatre that often replays old films, and I think I would like to actually see it for myself in a big screen. So back to the story. When we get to the end of the story where the movie, he's looking at the screen, the young Pat, and he's
gobsmacked.
Yeah.
His parents think he's a bit stunned, but he's actually.
What is he going to do next?
He's excited to the extent he can't talk. He's just glued to the screen, going, "What the hell?
Yeah,
this is great."
Yeah. He then crosses over to him getting stuff for his own productions, using his father's Super 8 camera, I think.
Yeah, I think he has Super 8, yeah.
Yeah, it's back in the 1970s.
Yeah, 8mm camera, yeah. Did he have sound on it?
No,
No, he
there's
didn't have a sound
this
like that.
is
Yeah.
the one of those old cameras.
Well,
Like
the old one.
anyway,
guys.
his mother and his family get annoyed with him stealing objects, including his sister's horse and his sister's bike, and
who
but it didn't hurt them. They didn't get annoyed when he did show them what he did with those things. They turned to some epic stuff. Of course, most of the time he gets annoyed. His parents get annoyed. His dad goes to give some tips on filmmaking, and he gives them some models to play with. Obviously, of course, the models become a little bit of an interesting side to making productions, where you use models to emulate the story. Of course, he applied that into his productions, obviously.
I wouldn't mind getting a few models to play with.
Of course,
Sorry.
when he does, we cross over to when he's a teenager. After he did his own version of Planet of the Apes, make his own prosthetic masks and stuff like that.
Good job, too. I saw the movie.
We then see him and his friend Bill, who are doing their own version of Jaws 2. They're in Jaws.
In his swimming pool at home,
Yeah.
his mother was not impressed for all the blood in the pool.
No. I don't know how it would happen, but I don't think my parents would like it either.
Yeah.
Anyway, she tells him that she wants the pool to be clean. Of course, while cleaning it, some of the organs from the shark attack end up going into the pool's filter and damages it.
Yeah, big time. Mm-hmm.
And later on, his mum gives him his marching orders saying, you must pay the toll, because what have I told you? To pay for what you need to fix up.
And if you break something, you fix it.
You break it, you fix it.
Now, anyway, let's get getting past that. Getting back to 2001, A Space Odyssey, he had an obsession about the special effects. And there's a special effects artist and filmmaker called Douglas Trumbull,
who goes on to become the filmmaker for Silent Runner.
Yeah, Silent Running. He is holds him up as a hero in the industry. He says, I want to be just like this guy, you know?
Yeah, of course. His mum and brother, his mum is more worried about him and stuff like that. But later on, he meets this girl he has a crush on. I think her name is Robin, who's a nice girl, who's his best friend's ex-girlfriend, I think, and he has a bit of a crush on her, but she says no. They make out in one scene, obviously, but she tells her that she's not the girl for him, obviously, and one day he will find someone much better than her, obviously. Which he does. He meets a girl named Linda. Who's a nice girl who works as a cafeteria lady or whatever. And they have a bit of a brief relationship, obviously, an on-again, off-again relationship. Because most of the time throughout the movie, she's either saying that she wants him to go out and explore the world, sort of thing.
She doesn't want to go with him.
Yeah. I think the most interesting thing about this movie is Pat is worried about leaving the nest and pursuing filmmaking outside of his backyard.
Yeah, he comes from a very, very, very small country town, I believe. So he has several hundred people, I guess 750 people in the town or something. One of those sort of places, yeah.
Anyway, so she wants him to do that, but at the same time, she wants him to... Well, that's what she wants, obviously. Of course, Pat tries to make out that these relationships are more important, but soon enough, his mother comes up with this idea of trying to get him to finally, approach the real industry, obviously. So she calls up, at first, he actually tries to contact his idol, his filmmaker idol, who, but for some reason, he's unlisted. You cannot contact him.
He phones all the guys of that same name.
Yes.
Trumbull.
Of course, it's difficult because you can't really contact a well-known filmmaker.
Yeah, but if you've got D. Trumbull in that area, there might be dozens and dozens and dozens of them or something.
Yeah.
You're not going to find the right one straight away. So
And there's a chance that the filmmaker, might be unlisted in the phone book.
Possibly.
There's a possibility of that because you don't have because even on the internet you can never find these people. There might be a chance that there are a few phonies out there. That's even more scary. Anyway,
Mummy gets on the phone.
Yes,
and
she phones up a editor for a magazine, a filmmaker magazine.
American Cinematographer is the magazine, and a guy, what's his name? Herb Lightman.
Yeah. She contacts him and tells him that her son's a very, very skilled filmmaker, and she wants to do something for him to get his name out there, get himself noticed,
some people in Hollywood,
meet these Hollywood people, his idols, and probably get something out of it. So she then says, he then offers him to come to Los Angeles and actually meet these people. So she pays her, using traveling by using credit card. And soon he arrives there. He's dressed in a nice suit, and he meets Mr. Lightman, and he eventually, at first, he's a bit surprised, and he's a little excited, obviously. And when he does go to this place, and we don't get to meet his idol, obviously, as of yet, because he's busy, obviously. But we do meet young Steven Spielberg, who's doing his filming for
Close Encounters of the Third Kind. We all know that one, don't we?
Yeah. He gets a few minutes of talking time with him. They go into another room and they talk and talk and talk. Of course, Pat is starstruck by meeting one of these idols, obviously. But of course, the language barrier is difficult because they're speaking in a different tongue,
They're talking in film.
Yes, and of course...
It's like talking to a computer person. They're talking binary. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Yeah, because when you meet with a filmmaker, they speak a different language. They may say things that will be hard to understand and stuff like that.
Anyway, while he's there, he's actually at the studio, and he runs into this Trumbull guy,
yes.
and he's so busy... He says hello, and that's about as far as it goes because he's in a hurry.
Yeah, but he also was starstruck. Dear old Pat could not speak. I know this because I've been down that track myself. Whenever I meet someone famous in filmmaking or acting, I can't even open my mouth. I get scared because that's normal, I guess. Meeting your famous idol, it's scary. It's normal for some people. But it's knowing that you cannot really have a 5-minute conversation and think of them as humans. That's what's really annoying most. Anyway, he goes back home and
he doesn't. While he's there after that, he goes to Industrial Light and Magic.
I know. I'm going to get to that.
But that was at the same time.
I know that, but I was going to bring that up after he does get home. His mum thinks it's nice, but his brothers and his sister think, why didn't you talk to him? He's just like everyone else. He's a normal person, but... They don't understand that this is like meeting an actor. You cannot speak to them because you can't convey your thoughts.
So when he was in Hollywood,
he then goes to his friend Bill and tells him about his encounter, and then he mentions the Star Wars, light and magic thing, and he tells him about the props he sets and stuff like that, and the spaceships. I should mention that he also meets the behind the scenes crew members where they were making the special models and stuff.
Gave him a full tour of Industrial Light and Magic and showed him the models and the sets and you saw a screening of the unfinished Star Wars movie.
Yeah, of course. In an interview, I actually saw an interview when he was doing a bit of to promote this movie. Pat Johnson was saying that he did see it, the private screening, and he said just like in what this young actor was seeing, that it was all you don't hear the sound effects, you hear a lot of weird noises. Sometimes you hear an actor or a director saying, "Cut, I want to reshoot that scene," or you don't hear any music. So it's all very dull, but aside from that, it looks very interesting. And I think he's encouraged by the editor that to go see this, and if he doesn't get knocked off his seat by watching this movie, then, if he does,
get a real job.
Then he can actually go ahead and start pursuing his filmmaking. Of course, when he tries to tell his friend and his other friends about this, no one wants to even give. They think this is just another sci-fi movie that's just going to be just another movie that will just be rewatched over and over, but no one will care or listen. But he tries his hardest to actually get people to actually attend the screening for the film. He even goes out of his way to pay for his classmates to actually attend this. Of course, most of them just frown and say, "Who the fuck cares?" Or, well, sorry about that, but that's
a rude word. Then I should beep, shouldn't I? Okay.
Sorry, guys, but that's what the attitude is, and most of them, even by the time he actually sees it, is in the trailer, obviously. His friends are just continue saying, "Is that it? That looks like a lot of crap, blah, blah, blah." I've seen the original trailer for the old Star Wars, and I do admit that it does come off flat. I prefer the newer one, obviously.
I don't recall the trailer.
Well, anyway, it was not really interesting. So,
well,
yeah. Anyway, of course, Linda notices he's looking at this, and I think she's a little jealous of his love of filmmaking is a lot more powerful than the love that she loves for him or her.
Yeah.
Of course, later on, when the movie finally does its premiere, it's on the 25th. He's all excited, and he tries to get his friend to drive him to his workplace to get his check and arrange for them to go to the theater. Of course, he wants to cash the check so he could pay for the seating. But along the way, he goes through several problems, like his relationship with Linda goes haywire. Some of the other classmates don't want to go because they're going to a party that night and will miss the screening. And his sister nearly gets her boyfriend was taking advantage of her in a hotel, but unfortunately Pat steps in and saves her, or tries to save her, but she doesn't appreciate it.
It was one of those nights, I've had those.
Of course, by the time Pat returns home, he misses the screening from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and probably the late night showings, obviously. He goes to the party, obviously, to tell his friend Bill, why aren't you and his friends to go to this screening. Of course, they continue to say, what's so important about this screening? It's just another sci-fi movie.
But anyway, the funny part is he tries to make it to the midnight screening at the
Well,
local
he doesn't
theatre.
get that, obviously.
Anyway, he gets there, and it's in theatres everywhere except in his town.
That comes much later, because later on his friend Robin puts her fist in her mouth because as a bit of a honey tribute, and when he takes her to hospital, obviously.
He means put the feet in the mouth, not the fist in the mouth. Don't
know.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, it was mentioned early in the movie. Anyway, one of his friends who is very close to him tell him, why are you so bent on, why did you get involved in filmmaking? And of course, he explains he was sort of doing a psychiatry paper, and he was a subject. And he remarks that the reason he got involved in filmmaking was the fact his parents were about to get divorced, and he was trying to use this as a distraction to get them to look at something and not get argue over getting divorced and stuff. Of course. Pat remarks that he loves filmmaking because it allows that there will be, when you go to a cinema, there is no clicks. There's just a connection, because everyone is going somewhere to one place in one town where everyone gets to enjoy a film without having to worry about who you sit next to. Anyway, that's
finding chewing gum stuck to your seat.
Yeah, true. Of course. He finally realizes the truth that all this time that he's using filmmaking. Let me see, how did it go? The reason he made films was so that people will not, will find some connection and won't leave and stuff like that. Because I think in this movie, that Pat is worried about leaving his hometown to seriously pursue filmmaking. And it's difficult for him, obviously.
The little bird's going to leave the nest one day.
Everyone's been telling him that one day you're going to leave. And he says, I won't leave because I will continue, staying here and stuff like that. But they know he's got ambition. He's got drive.
Exactly.
And this is going to take him away from his hometown eventually. And
his friends. And his puppy dog. And his pussycat.
Later
and his
on,
goldfish.
he then makes up with Linda, and they are about to go to another screening of Star Wars. But unfortunately, they decide to do the best thing by going out all the way, obviously.
They went and made love somewhere. Isn't that lovely? Like they cemented their relationship.
Of course, at this point, this is where later on they break up because she makes up that she was not his first.
She tells him that she wasn't his first, and that when he was in Hollywood doing stuff, she had sex with his mate or a friend of his or somebody knows. Yeah,
of course,
but she's lying.
Yeah. Of course, she remarks that Pat was, well, that Linda is not his first. It turns out to her that she's competing against his other love, his filmmaker love, his the fact when he first saw the trailer for Star Wars, he was smitten by it, obviously.
He was smoked like you wouldn't believe.
And
smoked.
Of course, she thinks that she cannot compete with that much energy in the room to what they just experienced. Anyway, they break up, and he then goes to the car place where he was getting his car fixed, and he confronts the guy who had sex with Linda. But of course, supposedly he denies it and says that Linda did not. And he says, then why did she lie? And then he worked it out that Linda did this because she wants him to leave.
And follow his dream.
Of course. He then goes to the cinema eventually, and there this guy at the theatre says that there was no advanced screening because it's in every cinema, but not in this one.
No, because it's an independent theatre in a small town. It's up to the guy to get it in if he wants to show it to his local people.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
He laughs it off, and then Pat goes off and...
He does see it somewhere else.
Yeah. Eventually, I think it was on a school break, he's in the cafeteria, and the principal approaches him saying, why aren't you on school break? It's a public holiday, yada yada. And he says that he would rather just have his meatloaf or muttloaf.
Muttloaf or something like that, yeah.
It was a joke.
Yeah, no, whatever, yeah.
Then Robin appears and tells him that she wants to take away his virginity. A different type of virginity, meaning take him to the advanced screening of... I don't know an advanced screening.
I think it's just the release date. So premiere.
Yeah.
It's not a premiere.
Well, it's not a premiere because now it's been already released. So now it's just running its course, obviously. So she takes him to the local theatre. I think it's the theatre owner is finally decided to actually put the movie into it, and of course...
Well, whoopee-doo for him, hey?
Yes.
Well, there you go, then.
Anyway, they then sit down, and she says that he'll never forget this, and thanks, dear old Robin, for doing this. Then we hear the music, and we watch as Pat watches the movie.
And he didn't touch her once.
No.
No.
We then cross to his room, and here his mother approaches him, and we see his bags are packed, which indicate that he's going to move to Hollywood and all that stuff. He then gets into his car, and he waves goodbye to his family, and of course his sister says that you'll be back in a week. Oh. Anyway, he then, as he's heading out, of his town, he sees his friend Bill, who gives him the money that he owes him for, his check that he got from work, because he owes him to, get done, obviously. And he remarks that about how that he was going off to Hollywood, and Pat remarks that Hollywood is his monologue or whatever, from Space Odyssey, and he says it could be a door or it could be a wall for him. And of course, Bill remarks that he doesn't know what the hell is he talking about, and goes on to say, just as long as you don't come back as a big baby thingy, space baby or thing.
Which refers back to 2001, A Space Odyssey. Mm-hmm. There's a baby at the end of it floating up in space or something, right?
Yeah. It's all symbolic. Anyway, yes. Pat gets into his car and he starts driving off to a monument that's awaiting him at the other end, which indicates that could be his future awaiting him. To him, he described the big black slab as either his future or maybe a door to another dimension. He's very interesting when it comes to describing this sort of thing. And I can't wait to actually go to Space Odyssey to actually find out for myself what that movie's about. And I hope it will be...
We could watch it tonight if you could.
Well, I want to give it some more food for thought.
Well, you want to watch something else anyway.
Anyway, that's the movie. So now our thoughts on it. So what did you think of it when you first watched it?
It's a biodrama type thing, obviously, coming of age. So it's based on reality, not necessarily 100% accurate, because obviously they flower it up just a little bit. But,
yeah.
As biodramas go, it's not too bad, actually. I mean, we like biodramas and similar based on people in the industry. Like Hitchcock was a good movie and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and the Fablemans, obviously.
Fableman, yeah, well, that was about What's Who Is It? So, Metal Block.
Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg, yeah. I can't remember everything.
It's easy not to forget. It's not difficult to forget.
And there's other ones we've seen, and you think, wow, these guys did the hard yards, and look where they are today. And that's you've got to take your hat off, if you're wearing a hat, that is, or your wig, or polish your head, and say, wow, these guys are really something. And that goes out to females out there too. I don't know too many females in the industry, so but the main guys like your Lucases and your Spielbergs and your Carpenters and your Camerons and all these guys, they started off as little guys, and they worked hard to get where they want to go, and that's why we watch these sort of films, and that's why we like this one.
Yeah. I did think it was pretty interesting, especially the behind the scenes of Star Wars, like the stuff that was, even the screening he actually experienced, where you see it looking, well, not completely completed, but just as interesting and stuff like that. It's amazing when Star Wars came out that it looks so out there.
It jumped to the next level. I mean, if you go back to back in the 40s, 50s, around that, when they were doing lots of the old, I wouldn't say cheap and nasties, but they had limited budget for it, and they just had basic sort of sets for it. No one knew what a spaceship was going to look like anyway.
Yeah,
so who cared? And they didn't know what aliens looked like, so they just made up. There's an alien one where the guy was wearing a gorilla suit and had a diving helmet on. I can't remember which one it was called now.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff. They just made it up and everybody enjoyed it. But they were pretty cheesy back in those days.
Yeah.
This was the next level. You had a couple of good ones back then, like Forbidden Planet and stuff. And then a bit later on, you had Marooned and those sorts of movies. And then that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden, this comes along. Whoa. Yeah.
And like... the Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that one was different because in that one, instead of alien abductions, angry aliens taking over, like the let me see, what was that one called? All the other sci-fis that came before,
aliens.
They have mean aliens who just naturally attack the individuals out there and just blows things apart and tries to take over. In this case, it was more or less trying to, engage in contact and actually meet these people. And I often thought it was an interesting approach instead of just the nasty, ongoing approach that we've gotten used to so long.
Are we going to rate it?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay. Right. Okay. This again, I base my judgment and my gradings based on their own genres. So, okay, here we go. This is a biodrama. As a biodrama goes, I found it very interesting. Obviously, there was no chase scenes. There was no slashes in it. However, it was an interesting story, so I'm going to give it about a 9.
I think it's pretty cool, especially how the real Pat Reed Johnson actually made it, and he was not afraid to actually put himself in the story.
See? Like Stephen King. There's a lot of Stephen King in his books and movies. There's always a journalist or a writer or somebody. I wonder if it's based on somebody we all know and love.
Or a man who just dreams of what he wants to be, obviously. Anyway, I imagine
I'll go to 9. What do you give it?
Yeah. Anyway, I imagine, before I get rated, I imagine dear old Pat may have added things that he wished he could have achieved, like maybe gone ahead and actually did more in the industry, and which he did, obviously. He actually made Baby's Day Out, a movie that came many years later,
Okay, yeah,
obviously.
Yeah.
And he wrote the script for Dragonheart.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
Okay,
yes, he
yeah,
did.
yeah.
And he did assisted in the prop, making spaceships and other stuff here and there. Of course, it's all in the detail. I should mention he also assisted on a little bit, teeny weeny bit, on Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It was not mentioned in this movie, but it's implied that he assisted in the creating of some of the spacecraft bits. Obviously,
Yeah.
a little bit. I don't know if it's listed. It might be listed.
It may be. It may not be.
Up there, but maybe as one of many people who assisted in the creating of the spaceship. That could be listed in that particular department. I don't know. So I'm going to rate it now. So I'm going to rate it 10 out of 10.
That's my goal.
Yeah. So to Pat Johnson out there, I really am proud of your hard effort to tell your story.
Me too.
And I do think that it's an interesting story, and the fact that it encourages young people. I know that I've said this about The Fabelmans and this one, but I also think that both movies, they show shows us as the filmmaker and how we want to go out and try to be the filmmakers that we want to be, not to be stuck inside in our own little filmmaker shell and try to go out and actually make something of ourselves.
I know have heroes, don't we?
I know it's difficult. I know deep down we all have a bit of filmmaking in ourselves, and we want to be expressive and show the world this is what we want to be. And Hollywood is not just a place, at least not to me. I think Hollywood is whatever we make it. Like we don't need to travel several miles across the world to become.
Some of the best movies are being made in people's own, not technically their own backyard. We reviewed a movie some time back. I think it's a slasher movie or something, and the guy did it in his own town.
He did.
Local high schools and local government buildings and whatever. He used everything locally. He didn't have to go halfway across the world.
Yeah, that's my point.
And Joshua Kennedy. He's an independent filmmaker in America there, and he does a lot of stuff there on, I would say, on a skinny budget.
Yeah.
He just does it.
Yeah. So you don't need to cross the globe to go over to Hollywood. Hollywood is wherever you can make it. Because most people I've actually looked at have made it. I feel like they have come really far in the industry, and I feel like one of these days their film projects will take them
to places
unknown. And they will probably take them, or it might take them into into other people's homes and stuff like that.
Hollywood and stuff. A lot of movies aren't actually made in Hollywood. They're actually made by Hollywood production companies, but they actually go to foreign places, because you can't just do everything in the studio all the time and put a couple of fake palm trees in the backyard.
That's true.
Yeah, so they go somewhere, they go on site, they go on location and do their shoots, and they bring. It's like a James Bond movie. They take you to a foreign country, and you say, "Whoa, this is great! I haven't been there before." Yeah, and you get to see something.
Yeah. See, it's as I said, many studios are all over the place, and you don't need to cross the country. You just have to start.
Studios are where your camera and audio gear are.
Yes, and starting to build your cast and crew, and of course I like the fact that I would love it even if I know I said this with the Fabelmans in the past, guys, but I wish they could have would have started as young as Pat or Steven Spielberg or the other filmmakers.
What about me?
I know.
I'm 70 years old. I'm just starting crying.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind if I started young myself, like back in the 90s or the 80s. And if I took an interest in filmmaking, maybe I would have developed my own short film.
You could have been supporting me now.
Of course, it would be difficult because it would have been difficult back then. I don't even know how to would have cut a film back in the 90s before all the advanced,
Good
stuff came along. Obviously, I don't know if they would have had the special editing programs back in the 90s. I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't know. If they did, it would have been very expensive, probably. You would have still probably gone back onto wet film. Yeah, yeah.
I would have to ask the people I associate with and ask them what it was like back in the 90s.
Anyway.
Was it difficult? Was it hard to make a film back then?
Anyway,
so that's it from
did
us.
you grade it? Oh, you gave
Yes,
10
I did.
Yeah, okay.
So
now, where do you get
where to get it?
Aha! I'm glad you asked. eBay, there's plenty for sale, and Amazon has it for sale and for rent, which means you good folk out there, if you really want to have a look at it, you can rent it somewhere, probably on Amazon or some other streaming site. You might be able to see it, etc., etc., etc. Blah 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 blah. And but just make sure some of you we'd like to hear from you occasionally and say, hey, we really liked the movie, or we thought it was a load of crap, or whatever.
Yeah.
Just to get some sort of response, so we know actually. We're reaching out to people there and they're enjoying the podcast.
Yeah, as we've told you guys in the past, we don't just do sci-fi or horror or fantasy.
But there are main ones.
There are main ones, but
then we get something interesting we think you guys might like. We throw that in as well.
Yeah, like Dear Old Pat's story and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I always think it's always good to, if it's an interesting story with interesting subjects that inspire you to become
I'm
a filmmaker,
inspired.
then it's usually the best way to go.
Yeah, exactly right.
So anyway, that's the movie. So you know where to find it, and you know our thoughts on it. So it's actually up to you guys at home to actually go see it.
Yeah.
So that's about it from us, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. We'll be sure to get some more done, as we go along, obviously.
I want to go back to some really good sci-fi, some old ones that maybe some of you guys haven't seen or haven't seen for many, many years.
I hope to actually check out the Abigail movie, obviously, very soon. I actually took the liberty of actually find one. So I'm going to go and watch it, and possibly
maybe watching it tonight, hey?
We might watch it tonight, and then we'll give you our food for thought in our next podcast.
Exactly.
No promises there'll be next one.
But
I will try to fit it into my
We have a busy schedule.
I also am looking into another production, not now, but in the future, in September, that Joshua Kendi is cooking in the mix. I don't know if it's going on to YouTube just yet, or I might ask him to give me a private screening to actually watch it.
He may put it through the Vimeo or somewhere for password or something, or one of those sort of things.
Yeah.
So you can review it for him. Yeah.
Because he's doing another octopus-related movie.
Manopus, isn't it?
So I can't wait to actually see it. I love his ones that deal with different types of universal type styles and stuff. I always envy the fact he's such a clever fellow.
Joshua is a creative man. Mm-hmm. So again, as an independent filmmaker, I mean, I think I like him or not like him. Yeah, but these are the guys who've got the imagination nowadays, and they should be given a chance to go further.
Yeah,
but
at least.
However, no one gives them a chance, so they keep doing their own stuff.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, these guys, the independent guys, you know who I'm talking about? I think anyone out there who has the imaginations and the creativity, he's the next George or George A. Romero or
George
Steven
Lucas,
Spielberg or John Carpenter or Wes Craven. They're the new people out there.
There are some new people coming up at the moment.
Aside from the ones who continue trying to pump out mainstream movies, they don't seem to have any
But some
thought.
of it's getting boring because it's been done before. There's nothing fresh coming out. But the newbies, the independent guys, they got all this fresh creative juices flowing, and it's really a hard road for them.
Yeah.
So to all you guys out there doing it hard, we know what it's like. We're trying to do it too, and we respect you for it.
There is so much interesting things out there. You just need to get to see the stuff. I mean, believe me, I have seen some interesting stuff, including some colleagues, film projects, and most of it comes off as really sharp and inspirational.
Some is pretty dang good. Yeah, again, most of it's really limited budget stuff too. So, and basic equipment and basic special effects, and everything's done basically. Of course, they don't have they don't have millions of dollars to throw at the project.
Yeah, like one person I know who did his own film project. He did it with a small budget, and managed to actually cook up a really good film project.
The one we saw down at the Valley?
The Matron. Yeah. That was a good one.
Matriarch,
which was a really good one because it took place in Australia. And the filmmaking was really spot on.
They went to a country town to get an older building, and they did the filming out there. It wasn't a long shoot, but they did it rather an intense shoot to get it done pretty quickly. So
yeah, it was really good, and the filming was very sharp. No glitches, no issues,
It's quite good.
No.
So
color problems.
Is that out now, or hitting the film festivals?
I think it's hitting the film festivals, and probably I already seen it in a few. I only seen it in a special screening event, obviously. Of course, I do hope he managed to get it distributed on DVD for everyone. I do think it's worth actually considering and watching.
It would be good because then the world can see how clever this guy is.
Yeah. Anyway. That's about it from us, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review podcast, obviously.
And by the way, I just had the computer fixed up, and I was having trouble with getting the sound balance properly. So Sarah might be up a bit and I might be down a bit, but hopefully it'll be rectified by the next time we do a podcast.
Right, folks. So that's about it from us, guys. So I'll see you guys for my next podcast. So this is Sarah Stephenson.
And Michael.
See you guys around, and I hope you have a good week.
Yeah, guys. Bye.